have the upper hand. They might have easily identified him if they had paid closer attention to the details. However, the uniforms worn by both sides are strikingly similar, leading to dangerous cases of mistaken identity. In a desperate bid for survival, the soldier cleverly removed any clear signs of his Ukrainian identity from his attire before getting too close to the enemy. Imagine the tension hanging in the air as he walks along that dusty road, debris crunching beneath his boots. The drone overhead captures every heartbeat, every shallow breath, as he walks alongside the Russian soldiers, who may not suspect a thing. Their conversations blend into the background, mere whispers against the cacophony of war. What emotions must be swirling inside him? Fear. Courage. The instinct to fight or flee? With each passing second, the odds appear increasingly stacked against him. Outnumbered, alone, and without reinforcements, he seems like a lone sheep among hungry wolves. Yet, he remains calm and collected. In a critical moment, an opportunity arises. Perhaps a sound in the distance distracts the Russians, or they grow lax in their vigilance. Slowly, the Ukrainian soldier begins to lag behind, allowing his instincts to guide him. Suddenly, adrenaline surges through him as he seizes the moment. He raises his rifle, and fires a single shot, striking the first unsuspecting Russian soldier in the head. The shock echoes in the air as the soldier crumples to the ground, lifeless, a victim of haste and presumption. Before the second Russian can comprehend what has just transpired, the Ukrainian soldier charges, unleashing chaos in an instant. The second soldier turns in panic, but it's too late. Another shot rings through the air, and he falls mere feet away from his fallen comrade, leaving silence in his wake. The Ukrainian swiftly retreats, the drone overhead a silent witness to his remarkable escape. This shocking turn of events unfolds against the backdrop of a battlefield that analysts believe might not be as securely held by Russian forces as previously thought. Could these encounters reveal deeper cracks within enemy lines? The soldier's incredible adaptability not only highlights his individual bravery but also sheds light on the unpredictability of the war. On the chaotic front lines, no one is truly safe, even the warriors, once confident in their superiority, are at risk. As the story unfolds, whispers of a covert sabotage unit emerge. Could this soldier be part of a larger effort to infiltrate the enemy? Questions swirl about what truly defines victory in this brutal conflict, where the boundaries are blurry and fortunes can shift in an instant. How did the Ukrainian soldier maintain his composure in such a dire situation? As strategies evolve and the battleground shifts, one thing becomes clear: resourcefulness and cunning are as powerful as any weapon in this fight for survival. As the Ukrainian soldier ventured deeper into hostile territory, his mind raced with countless possibilities. He knew the odds were stacked against him. Outgunned and outnumbered, he faced two Russian soldiers, their presence like shadows looming over him. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears, and sweat trickled down his brow, amplifying his focus. What if they saw through his disguise? A single misstep could mean the end. He needed to remain calm, navigating this deadly game of survival with finesse. The reality was stark: one wrong word or nervous gesture, and his deception would falter. He had to think fast. Unbeknownst to his pursuers, both Russian and Ukrainian troops donned remarkably similar uniforms, merging them into a gray mass. To avoid mishaps, they wore colored armbands, but today, those insignias were of no use. The Ukrainian soldier had cleverly stripped away any identifiable markers of his nationality, blending perfectly among these unsuspecting foes. Drone footage captured the trio as they unwittingly formed an unsuspecting circle of camaraderie. Conversations flowed, potentially filled with mundane exchanges. The Ukrainian soldier had an edge: he spoke Russian fluently, a remnant of his upbringing. While some of his compatriots embraced their native tongue as an act of defiance, many Ukrainians still conversed in Russian, making it effortless for him to mask his identity. In stark contrast, the average Russian soldier struggled to understand Ukrainian, creating a chasm of confusion. As they walked side by side, he played the role perfectly. His heart pounding in syncopation with the rhythmic crunch of gravel beneath their boots. The weight of the moment pressed down on him like an unyielding vice, but he didn't falter. The stakes were too high. Would the atmosphere of false security hold? Would he manage to slip through the tight grasp of fate? Or was this elaborate charade about to come crashing down? In a war where survival hinges on quick thinking and cunning, one Ukrainian soldier exemplified the spirit of adaptability in the face of overwhelming odds. Alone and seemingly trapped, he found himself on a dusty road, shadowed by 2 Russian soldiers. The tension in the air was palpable. This was a moment that could turn deadly in an instant. The soldier, part of the famed 425th Assault Regiment, also known as the Skala Regiment, had a mission. As he walked alongside his enemies, his heart raced, but his exterior remained calm. He needed to blend in, to become one with the very forces that sought to extinguish his life. The similarity in their uniforms, along with the universal language of Russian, provided him a lifeline, a chance to mask his true identity. As they walked, the sound of their boots on the gravel echoed ominously in his ears. He felt the weight of his rifle, a reminder of the choices that lay ahead. What thoughts raced through his mind? Could he truly pull this off? All it would take was one slip of the tongue, one wrong gesture, and his fate would be sealed. But he had no choice, he had to play the part perfectly. In a calculated move, he slowed his pace, allowing the Russians to step ahead. They marched on, unaware that their last moments were drawing near. Suddenly, the opportunity arose. With adrenaline surging, he raised his rifle and fired, a single shot that struck true. The first soldier crumpled, and chaos erupted. The second Russian turned, but it was too late. The Ukrainian soldier executed his plan flawlessly, taking down his foe before sprinting away to safety. This dramatic encounter occurred near Boyovka, a settlement believed to be under Russian control. But this incident revealed a crack in that facade, suggesting the Russians were not as invincible as they seemed. How had he managed to remain unscathed when so many would falter? The soldier's composure under pressure was extraordinary. Where others might have panicked or charged into a hopeless fight, he chose the path of patience and precision. Was this a mere stroke of luck, or was he trained for such encounters? Perhaps he was part of a covert sabotage unit, infiltrating enemy lines to dismantle them from within. As the dust settled, the air grew thick with tension. This incident not only highlighted the fluidity of the front lines but also exposed the porous nature of modern warfare. With soldiers from both sides often crossing paths in the chaos, the risk of misidentification loomed large. As the drone watched from above, capturing every moment, one question lingered: how many more hidden battles like this are being fought unseen? The echoes of war continue to reverberate, leaving us to ponder the resilience and ingenuity of those who fight against the odds. In the gritty landscapes of conflict, where survival hinges on quick wit and daring, one Ukrainian soldier faced a daunting challenge. Is it possible to outsmart an enemy that outnumbers you? When isolated from his unit and followed closely by 2 Russian soldiers, his life depended on a clever ruse. Imagine the tension as he walked a dusty road, debris crunching beneath his feet, sweat trickling down his brow. Those following him may as well have been predators closing in on their prey. Though seemingly trapped, this soldier, part of the renowned 425th Assault Regiment, often lauded for their bold maneuvers, was not one to surrender easily. With enemy uniforms resembling his own, he blended seamlessly into the hostile environment, concealing his true identity. As they walked side by side, what thoughts raced through his mind? Would a misstep, an unusual hesitation or an unguarded word, expose him? He could sense the weight of his rifle as if it were a ticking clock, each pulse echoing the urgency of his situation. The drone circling above captured this precarious moment, oblivious to the impending chaos. Then, in a split second, he made his choice. The soldier subtly slowed his pace, allowing the 2 Russian soldiers to inch ahead. Weaving through the tension, he drew upon instincts honed through experience and years of warfare. His heart raced as he seized the moment, a perfect blend of fear and resolve. Suddenly, he raised his weapon and fired a single shot, a thunderous sound that shattered the illusory calm. The first Russian soldier collapsed, a lifeless body crumpling against the dusty earth. The second soldier, caught off guard, barely had time to react. In an instant, the Ukrainian soldier fired again, dispatching his enemy before escaping into the shadows of the landscape, leaving only the drone capturing the aftermath of his audacious escape. Such occurrences at the front lines highlight the precarious reality of modern warfare. The boundaries separating combatants are as porous as the soil they tread upon. Analysts describe the front line as fluid, often referring to it as a chaotic blur where fewer than 10 soldiers might defend a kilometer stretch. This unpredictability heightens the chances of encounters like the one witnessed that day, a dangerous game of chance played amidst destruction. This soldier's audacious tactics raise questions. Was he part of an elite sabotage squad, skilled in infiltration, or simply fortunate to turn a dire situation to his advantage? The prospect of such covert operations suggests a new layer of strategy in contemporary warfare, with each side constantly vying for dominance. The fearless Ukrainian soldier embodies a spirit of resilience, illustrating how courage and resourcefulness can triumph in the face of adversity. His ability to navigate an unpredictable battlefield speaks volumes about the psychological and tactical complexities of modern conflict. As both sides adapt, who knows what will unfold next in this ever-evolving theater of war? In the chaotic landscapes of modern warfare, errors can spell disaster. Think of the lives hanging in the balance when one soldier mistakes another for an enemy. That's the grim reality faced by troops in the volatile front lines, where the lack of clear boundaries turns friend and foe into a chillingly gray area. As Ukrainian and Russian soldiers tread through these forsaken zones, they often find themselves neck-deep in potentially deadly encounters. In these desolate stretches, scouts and troops venture forth, driven by the urgent need for supplies or vital intelligence. Yet, they're met with ambiguity, relying on uniforms that can easily mislead. Add to this the harsh truth that soldiers from both sides communicate using very similar languages and wield nearly identical weapons, and the situation becomes even trickier. Recently, both forces have engaged in desperate maneuvers aimed at outsmarting each other. In early August, reports surfaced of Russian soldiers donning civilian attire, infiltrating the beleaguered Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk. This town, perilously close to the front lines, has turned into a focal point for a fierce offensive. The Kremlin strategy appears relentless, utilizing everything from infantry units to drones and tanks in an attempt to penetrate the city's defenses. With every tactical attempt, the situation grows tenser. The Russians, desperate to seize this vital logistical hub, have sought to outwit the remaining defenders. However, as the dust settles, Ukraine has displayed remarkable resilience, repelling assaults with cunning strategies of its own. The stakes are high. And with each new report of Russians disguised as civilians emerging on Ukrainian social media, the uncertainty looms larger. Ilya Petrina, a deputy commander in the Ukrainian ranks, underscores the urgency of vigilance. We see Russians strip off their uniforms to blend in, he says, underscoring the twisting nature of this war. As tension mounts, one question remains: how do soldiers navigate a battleground where distinctions are intentionally blurred, and survival depends on relentless vigilance? What hidden stories lie beneath the surface of conflict, waiting to be uncovered? Amidst the chaos of war, a tale emerges, an audacious Ukrainian soldier facing insurmountable odds. Is survival a game of wits where adaptability is the ultimate weapon? In a world where darkness looms, can one soldier's brilliance turn the tide of fate? Meet a member of Ukraine's 425th Assault Regiment, known as the Skala Regiment, formed in the wake of conflict, becoming renowned for their relentless innovation and resilience. Picture this: a desolate dirt road, strewn with remnants of battles past. As dust swirls around him, one Ukrainian soldier walks alone, his heart racing. Unbeknownst to him, danger lurks behind. Two Russian soldiers shadow his every step, unaware of the deadly game unfolding. The soldier's mind races with countless scenarios. What do you do when facing an enemy so close, yet so oblivious? Camouflage is key in the treacherous theater of war. Dressed similarly, both sides have donned uniforms that render identification nearly impossible. Yet as the Ukrainian slips into the role of a Russian comrade, he must suppress the thrill of deception. He feels the weight of his rifle, the tension gathering like a storm ready to unleash. As they walk side by side, careful words are exchanged. The Ukrainian can easily blend in, the language rolling off his tongue with practiced ease. But the clock is ticking. Each moment brings him closer to detection, or death. What would you risk to escape? The tension thickens, palpable as the air around them grows heavy. Suddenly, in a heartbeat of blinding clarity, the soldier seizes his chance. A calculated decision, the calm before a tempest. With a single shot, chaos erupts. One soldier collapses, the second blurting out a realization too late. Time freezes as he takes aim, the second soldier crumpling to the ground. And just like that, a daring escape ignites, the drone above bearing witness to this turning point. Where did this gripping scene unfold? Analysts speculate the battle-torn town of Boyovka. A place where control ebbs and flows like the tide, Russia claims ground, yet this audacious act unveils their vulnerability. Can one soldier's cunning expose the fragility of an empire? In the unpredictable landscape of war, the lines blur. A Ukrainian commander, Ilya Petrina, recounts the deception used by Russian troops, who disguise themselves and infiltrate towns like Pokrovsk, a hub under constant siege. They wear our uniforms, Petrina warns. They utilize chaos, weather, and miscommunication, aiming to disrupt and dishearten. The question lingers, how many more twists lie in this relentless narrative? In their march towards control, Russian soldiers employ disguises not just to blend in, but to sow fear, with misinformation potential trailing behind them like shadows. Can the courage of one soldier, who clings to life against all odds, tip the scales of this relentless conflict? With each passing moment, the stakes rise higher. The tension between brothers in arms thickens as they strive for survival. As the battle rages on, where do the lines of loyalty and identity truly lie? Witness the unyielding spirit of a soldier navigating through peril with nothing but cunning and resolve. What fate awaits those who dare to cross such perilous paths? Amidst the doom, resilience emerges, the ultimate weapon in a world plunged into darkness. In a war defined by survival and ingenuity, the Ukrainian military has consistently shown its ability to adapt and thrive against overwhelming odds. Consider a gripping scenario involving a soldier from Ukraine's 425th Assault Regiment, known as the Skala Regiment. This soldier, finding himself isolated on a desolate dirt road, devised a stunning strategy. He pretended to be an enemy. As fate would have it, footsteps behind him belonged to two Russian soldiers, unaware of the danger they were about to face. He could hear their muffled voices, the crunch of gravel, and the distant buzz of a drone capturing this tense moment. The surroundings were suffocatingly quiet, amplifying his racing heart. With enemy forces lurking so close, one misstep could spell doom. Both Russian and Ukrainian forces were similar fatigues, making identification a game of chance. The soldier cleverly removed any signs of his true identity, blending seamlessly into the environment. He executed a flawless facade, engaging casually with his unsuspecting foes, knowing that his grip tightened around the rifle he held. Then came the pivotal moment. The Russians walked beside him, oblivious, their laughter echoing faintly in the air. Every second felt like an eternity as he calculated his move. Suddenly, with adrenaline coursing through his veins, the Ukrainian soldier seized the moment. He turned, raised his rifle, and fired a shot that took down the closest soldier before the second could react. The thunderous gunshot shattered the stillness. With unwavering resolve, the soldier dashed away, leaving chaos in his wake. The drone captured every moment, but the story didn't end there. This incident, potentially set in Boyovka, raised questions about Russian control over the area, hinting that the front line was more porous than previously thought. As analysts across the globe dissected the event, we learned that the conflict was rife with complex interactions, including instances where Ukrainian soldiers had to pose as their enemies to survive. One notable operation in May 2024 saw a brave Ukrainian squad capture a Russian radio and cleverly mislead their adversaries to gain the upper hand, proving that ingenuity could often triumph over brute force. Yet, not all Ukrainians fight for their homeland, some have allied with Russia. Units like the 132nd Motor Rifle Brigade, made up of Ukrainians from occupied territories, further complicated the battlefield dynamics. They understand the terrain intimately, posing a significant threat to Ukrainian forces. Despite these challenges, the Ukrainian military, including the 1st Azov Corps and the Skala Regiment, countered with fierce determination, reclaiming territory with every assault. Their resilience shines as they deal with both deception from enemy forces and betrayal from their own ranks. Whether defeating Russians disguised as Ukrainians or combating fellow countrymen fighting for the Kremlin, the Ukrainian armed forces embody a tenacity that is hard to break. What exhilarating twist will the next chapter of this conflict bring? In the heart of a conflicted land, amidst the chaos of war, the Ukrainian armed forces have showcased stunning adaptability and ingenuity. A recent incident featured a courageous Ukrainian soldier from the 425th Assault Regiment, known as the Skala Regiment, who found himself in a dire situation. Separated from his unit and walking alone on a cracked dirt path, he was shadowed by two Russian soldiers, unaware of the tension brewing in the air. The atmosphere was thick with uncertainty as the drone above captured every moment. A wave of anxiety must have rushed through him. How would he escape this potentially lethal predicament? Normally, he would be outmatched, but the similarity of uniforms offered a strange form of camouflage. Both forces donned nearly identical combat fatigue, leading to confusion in the field. As fate would have it, the soldier, using his quick wit, started blending in, applying his language skills. Millions of Ukrainians understand and speak Russian fluently, allowing him to navigate conversations seamlessly. Despite his facade, every word uttered was fraught with danger. One careless slip could end his life in an instant. The drone zoomed in as tension mounted. Suddenly, the Ukrainian soldier slowed his pace, tailing his unwitting companions. The sound of their boots against the dirt echoed ominously. With a heartbeat racing, he bided his time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. How precarious could it be, sharing space with those who had orders to kill? In an electrifying instant, he took action. With a precise shot, he took down the nearest Russian soldier. His body crumpled to the ground in a disturbing silence. Before his comrade could react, the Ukrainian struck again. Another shot rang out, sealing another fate as the second soldier fell. He dashed away, his breath quickening, adrenaline surging through his veins. Though details about the location are scant, analysts suggest the small settlement of Boyovka, currently under Russian control, could be the backdrop to this audacious act. This encounter raises critical questions. How secure are the Russian forces if such a breach can occur? Are they truly in command, or have they lost their grip? This story reveals not only the soldiers' bravery but the fluid nature of the front lines, where enemy and ally can become indistinguishable in the chaos. The porous state of the battlefield often leads to unpredictable moments, much like this scenario. Experts explain that there's seldom a clear division between the two camps. Instead, soldiers might find themselves perilously close to each other, navigating an intricate web of deception. Similar tactics have unfolded on both sides of this conflict. In a strange twist, Russian soldiers have also donned civilian attire to launch ambushes within Ukrainian territory. The ambitions surrounding these power struggles are relentless, blurring the lines between honor and desperation, with one side constantly trying to outmaneuver the other. While one might consider the strategies employed by both forces to be a form of genius, they also highlight the grim realities of warfare. With each encounter like this, both Ukrainians and Russians must grapple with their humanity, constantly facing the horrifying choices war imposes. As battles rage on, the future remains uncertain. The fate of territories swings in the balance, and the actions of a single soldier could shift the tide of a larger conflict. Will resourcefulness and strategy prevail against overwhelming force? This question lingers as we reflect on the soldier's cunning and the unfolding narrative of an ever-complex war. In a world where every decision carries weight, the line between survival and demise blurs, and stories like this are etched into the fabric of history. In the relentless theater of war, one incredible story highlights the quick thinking and strategic creativity of a Ukrainian soldier. On a dusty road, he found himself isolated, with two Russian soldiers following close behind. The odds seemed overwhelmingly stacked against him, outnumbered and outgunned. Yet, amidst the chaos, this soldier turned danger into an opportunity by ingeniously disguising himself. As the sounds of boots crunching on gravel filled the air, the soldier knew he had a role to play. The two Russians marched with a swagger of confidence, unaware that they were flanked by a silent predator. How could they not see through the thin veil of deception? The uniforms of both sides were eerily similar. Yet this Ukrainian soldier had one distinct advantage: he spoke fluent Russian, a language that flowed as easily as the adrenaline coursing through his veins. The drone overhead captured every moment, a silent witness to a life-and-death game of survival unfolding below. What thoughts raced through the soldier's mind? There he was, walking side by side with the enemy, each step drawing him closer to the precipice of fate. How long could he keep up the facade? With each heartbeat, time stretched as he bided his moment, sensing the impending climax. Then came the pivot, the moment of truth. Seizing a fluke chance, he slowed his pace, pretending a casual demeanor as if he belonged. Would the Russians notice anything amiss? In a flash, the tension snapped. He raised his rifle and fired, the sharp crack of gunfire echoing across the landscape. The first Russian soldier collapsed instantly. And without skipping a beat, he targeted the second. A wild instinct kicked in, propelling him to act before the second soldier could even register the betrayal. With two enemies neutralized, the Ukrainian soldier vanished back into safety, leaving behind chaos in the barren landscape of conflict. This incident, shrouded in uncertainty about location but hinted to possibly occur near Boyovka, sent shockwaves of intrigue through military analysts. Was this area truly under Russian control, or did these events reveal cracks in their facade of power? In stark contrast, another narrative unfolded nearby. A group of Russian soldiers had taken to disguising themselves, draping themselves in civilian clothing, even wearing the uniform of Ukraine's postal service in desperate attempts to blend in. Yet they were met with swift retribution as the sharp eye of Ukrainian forces dismantled their ruse. Through a local mobilization powered by ordinary civilians, deadly intelligence was shared, and enemies lurking in the shadows were hunted down with precision. Both stories emphasize an undeniable truth: Ukraine's soldiers exemplify adaptability and mastery of warfare tactics that outmatch their adversaries. While one soldier's singular bravery dismantled danger, multiple foes were caught and eliminated in their own charade. The battlefield remains a stage for the crafty, where trickery becomes the ultimate weapon and survival sparks extraordinary feats of courage. In this relentless fight, who will ultimately emerge victorious in the battle of wits? The stage is set for what comes next. In the tumultuous theater of war, some stories unfold in ways that defy expectations. One such tale involves the indomitable spirit of a Ukrainian soldier from the 425th Assault Regiment, known as the Skala Regiment. As the battlefield became a backdrop of chaos and danger, this soldier carved a path of ingenuity and bravery that would leave a lasting impression. Imagine the scene: a dusty road, debris scattered like the remnants of shattered lives, and the tension hanging thick in the air. This soldier found himself isolated from his comrades, with two Russian soldiers hot on his heels, unaware of the perilous game unfolding. The Ukrainians and Russians, clad in similar fatigues, created an opportunity for deception that could lead to either salvation or demise. What thoughts raced through the soldier's mind as he felt the weight of his circumstances? In such dire moments, survival instincts collide with the art of cunning. Would he dare to impersonate the enemy, a gamble that could cost him everything? The soldier's quick thinking led him to lower his pace, blending seamlessly into the group of unsuspecting foes. As they walked, he harnessed the ability to communicate fluently in Russian, a skill that would prove crucial. Engaging his enemy as if he were one of their own, he donned a mask of calm, concealing his true intent. What would happen next could only be described as breathtaking. His moment arrived. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, he seized the opportunity to strike, turning the tables in a blinding flash. In a heartbeat, the Ukrainian soldier raised his rifle, unleashing a single shot that felled the first Russian soldier, the sound echoing against the backdrop of conflict. Before the second soldier could comprehend the betrayal, he too lay lifeless. The daring maneuver was shot through with tension and urgency, and as the dust settled, our cunning soldier escaped, leaving death in his wake. This incident raised questions about the fabric of the front lines. Where were they? What did it mean for control when enemies could walk beside each other, blissfully unaware of the enemy's true identity? Reports suggested this altercation may have taken place in Boyovka, hinting at a weak grip on territory that was supposedly under Russian domination. Could this soldier's audacity reshape perceptions in a war marked by desperation and resourcefulness? But the story doesn't end here. The echoes of such cunning reverberated throughout the war, showcasing not just the soldier's bravery but also the strategic thinking that highlighted the conflict. In September 2024, members of the 12th Azov Special Forces Brigade similarly masqueraded as Russian scouts. They infiltrated enemy territory, fooled their adversaries into a false sense of security, and secured 3 Russian soldiers who chose to surrender rather than fight. As the tension deepens, another story arises from January 2025, where soldiers from the 2nd Assault Battalion unveiled another clever sabotage. Amidst their daring exploits, 6 Russian troops fell into their trap after being lured from their concealed positions. The chaos of war breeds creativity, each instance revealing how thin the lines between friend and foe can be. The fate of soldiers often teeters on the edge of ingenuity and survival. Yet, in such dire circumstances, it's hard not to wonder, how far would you go to stay alive? Would you mimic a foe, wearing their identity like a cloak of safety? These warriors of both sides tread precariously, showcasing not just valor but the harsh realities of conflict where disguises and deceptions weave through the chaos of survival. And as the battlefield continues to evolve, one thing remains clear: this dramatic interplay of strategy reflects the relentless spirit of those who fight. With every calculated move, they redefine the essence of warfare. What next extraordinary ruse will emerge from the chaos that encapsulates this ongoing saga? The answer lurks in the shadows, waiting to shape history once more. In a world engulfed by chaos and war, the battlefield becomes a canvas of desperate creativity and chilling decisions. The story highlights the relentless ingenuity of Ukraine's armed forces, who have displayed remarkable adaptability in their quest for survival amid overwhelming odds. Imagine the tension on a dusty dirt road, one Ukrainian soldier, alone and cut off from his comrades, secretly stalked by 2 Russian troops. A drone hovers above, capturing every moment. What could he possibly do to escape this dire situation? He observes that both sides dress similarly, leading to a crucial opportunity for deception. Clad in his Ukrainian uniform, he skillfully disguises himself as one of them, knowing that a single misstep could cost him his life. Incredibly, as they walk side by side, he blends in, engaging in casual conversation, all while planning his next move. With millions of Ukrainians fluent in Russian, passing for one of his pursuers becomes a matter of instinct. But can he maintain his cover under such immense pressure? Suddenly, as the moment of truth draws near, his heart races. He lags slightly behind, feeling the weight of his rifle and the gravity of his choices. The soldiers march obliviously, unaware that they are mere steps away from their end. With a deep breath, he raises his weapon and fires. The first Russian soldier drops, and before the second can react, he fires again. The once familiar sounds of marching boots transform into the silence of fallen adversaries. He flees, adrenaline pumping, evading the watching eyes of the drone. But where is he now? Deep in enemy territory. Or back with his brothers? The real twist arises when we reflect on the contrasting strategies of both forces. Over in the nearby city of Pokrovsk, Russian soldiers desperately don civilian clothing, stumbling through homes, hoping to blend in to escape detection. They had no idea that vigilant Ukrainian forces were on their trail, tracing a mobile phone that revealed their routes. This breach allowed them to close in on their enemy, leading to dramatic confrontations. Locals became unwilling yet crucial allies, guiding Ukrainian drones straight to hidden Russian positions. In a blink, the tables turned. The stark difference becomes apparent: one Ukrainian soldier's clever ruse brought him triumph, while a group of Russian soldiers met a swift downfall, caught in an elaborate game of cat and mouse. As the dust settles, the haunting question lingers: in a world where facades can determine fate, who truly masters the art of deception in this brutal theater of war? The Ukrainian soldier showcased that sometimes, survival hinges not just on sheer force, but on wit, resourcefulness, and the courage to seize the moment. As stories of resilience unfold, it becomes clear: ingenuity in warfare can transform despair into fleeting hope. The relentless pursuit of victory doesn't solely rest in numbers, but in strategy and heart. Amidst the chaos of war, the battlefield is often a stage for the unexpected. Imagine soldiers who can not only survive but adapt. In the harrowing landscape of Ukraine, armed forces embody this ingenious spirit, showcasing a knack for deception and resourcefulness. One intrepid soldier from the 425th Assault Regiment, the Skala Regiment, created a daring plan to outsmart the enemy. Cut off and pursued by Russian soldiers, his fate hung in a fragile balance. Just behind him, 2 Russian troops followed closely, unaware of the drama unfolding. As a drone hovered above, capturing each heart-pounding moment, thoughts raced through the soldier's mind. With nerves of steel, he knew that a careless move could mean his end. Identical uniforms rendered friend and foe nearly indistinguishable, leading to nearsightedness among opponents. Crucially, the Ukrainian soldier had the advantage of language. A fluency in Russian allowed him to blend in effortlessly. Were the Russians merely oblivious, or was the Ukrainians' unsettling calm clouding their judgment? In an astonishing twist, as he walked beside the enemy, he appeared just like one of them, until the moment was right. Slowing down, he watched as they steadied their march, oblivious to the danger looming beside them. And then it happened. In a split second, the Ukrainian soldier drew his weapon. One shot rang out, striking the closest Russian soldier with brutal precision, the body crumpling lifelessly. An explosive realization jolted the second soldier, but it was far too late. The Ukrainian fired again, eliminating the threat sweeping through this false sense of security. He vanished from the scene, leaving the drone to capture the aftermath. Reports later suggested this daring act took place near Boyovka, a small settlement faltering under supposed Russian control. Yet this incident revealed vulnerabilities in their grasp, a stunning revelation of Ukrainian ingenuity on display. The battlefield is often fickle, defined by porous lines and unpredictable encounters. As military analysts observe, the front lines blur with every twist and turn of conflict, leading to situations where soldiers stumble upon one another in unexpected encounters. These moments can become life or death. It's a realm where strategies twist like shadows, and the outcome hinges on split-second decisions. In a twist of fate, Russian soldiers have not been exempt from the art of deception either. Instances emerged where they dressed as civilians in pursuit of an advantage in the besieged city of Pokrovsk. This city, a prime prize for the Kremlin, has witnessed unusual tactics as desperation grips the Russian forces. They employ every strategy in their arsenal to conquer it. Even the most intricate disguises, once a shield, have been exposed. Witnesses reported these attempts being systematically thwarted, highlighting Ukraine's prowess in cunning ambushes and counter-operations. How does one define victory in such a murky game of survival? From stunning infiltration to overwhelming odds, each encounter reshapes the narrative of warfare. Who really holds control when the boundaries blur? As days stretch into months, the fog of conflict thickens, revealing both the resolve of a nation and the consequences of misplaced trust. The art of disguise has become pivotal, bending perceptions and crafting unexpected alliances. As each side battles within the theater of war, they prove time and again that survival often comes down to who can outsmart their opponent, one meticulous plan at a time.